Alrighty, my guys, it's HeroInHisHead here, and welcome back to the channel of the Mad Lads. Now, today we're going to embark on the glorious journey into the very bowels of Kenshi's Genesis World Overhaul mod, and we decide to make our mark on its freshly redone, rebuilt, and refurbished world that is Kenshi. And what better way to do that than starting an empire comprised of the vertically challenged? That's right. We're talking about dwarves, my guys. The fantasy kind, not the regular kind. Please don't cancel me. So, buckle up and prepare your eyes for the birth of a nation. Or the grisly death of the fellowship of the little people, not really sure. Anyway, alright, now right off the bat, you're going to notice that I have 11 dwarves in decked out imperial gear ripped right from Oblivion. And you might be thinking, oh Dave, he's a cheater, he's too OP, the series is going to be garbage, fuck that guy, let's stone him and wear his skin as a hat. Let me tell you guys, I understand the urge, but trust me. Trust me. This isn't just Kenshi, this is Kenshi Genesis. It's not 1v1 combat anymore, and your enemies can actually all attack you at once, as well as I have the NPC squad size so large that you're going to see later on that my measly numbers don't mean a goddamn thing here. And unless you want the first 5 episodes to be me mining nothing but copper for money and running around like a 4-year-old from a single starving bandit, I suggest we move on from the topic. So, first things first. I spawned in the southern end of the swamp, which is both glorious to look at and awful to be stuck in, especially when you spawn with cool-looking, shoddy-grade, shit-tier armor and no weapons whatsoever. But our Lord and Savior, Giorgio, the Dwarven King, is going to lead his people out of this mess. Get boys in order, and we start to march through the swamps. Honestly, I was halfway expecting to get jumped by a horde of skin spiders or blood spiders or some other BS, but it wasn't that terrible. Until it was. Literally 5 minutes into this playthrough, my guys are hauling their tiny armored rumps at top speed to escape a group of hillbilly bandits because I mentioned before, I have no weapons! So we ran, and when we hit the water, causing the hillbillies to slow because everyone knows hillbillies' natural enemy is running water, Giorgio led his people to safety-ish. At this point, I felt the best course of action was to head west into the Spider Plains and then push north into the border zone, where I could start to establish myself as a force of dwarven supremacy. We travel the swamps, enter the plains, dodge some spidey boys, and narrowly avoid the roaming brigades. Eventually, we make it to the southernmost section of the border zone, specifically near the Band of Bones camp. Now, I thought this would be a good opportunity to test my guys and see how they fare. Mind you, their martial arts stats are currently in the negatives because their equipment and lack of weapon means that all I can do at this point is try. And honestly, I don't know what I thought was going to happen because one single Band of Bones was beating my elite dwarven squad of 11's top round asses. Time to flee. Again. Luckily, there was a group of manhunters roaming past, and I decided to do things the proper way and have them fight my battles for me, which worked out pretty well, because just moments later, the Shek was passed out in a pool of what was likely a combination of his own blood and urine. Now, after looting his sword for Giorgio, I was like, hey, I wonder if this is going to make things any better, because I'm fucking stupid. So I saw a group of skin spiders headed directly for the band camp, and I thought this would tear through them so I could just loot the weapons off the corpses, and everything would be great and dandy, you know. Total annihilation, didn't even register, fucking Band of Bones ripped those spiders to pieces. So now for the next fabulous idea, because at this point I was still trying to kind of get my feet on the ground before really starting my empire, thought if I could just kite one Shek away, I would have Giorgio beat the shit out of him with the sword that he just stole, and I could do that like 9 times. I guess. Doesn't matter, because it didn't work. Next thing I know, it's a repeat of the hillbilly situation because I'm running for dear life to my nearest way station. One of my nobles gets down and my guys take a few hits, but eventually we do make it to the station. And I again have everyone fight my battles for me. Now, as the bodies hit the floor, I take the chance to loot the corpses. Not like they're going to need their crap anyway. As I'm picking through the remains like the 4-foot vultures that we are, I realize we actually dropped Tora, leader of the Band of Bones, who has a bounty of 10k on her. Chicka-chicka, my guys. But she is dying from blood loss from the beating that she just received, so I have to work fast if I want the full bounty, otherwise they're going to slice me in half. I picked her up and I start hauling ass towards Squin. Now, I arrive and I take a good look at the city. Now, for those who have played just vanilla Kenshi, you're going to notice that Genesis has really gone above and beyond on these city overhauls. They fucking crushed it, honestly. And Squin is just a small one in terms of changes, but more on that in later episodes, I am sure. Anyway, send one of my boys over to the police, turn the bounty in, boost up on supplies, and start to plan my next move. I decide I'm going to head north towards the hub, see what happens there, but as my squad goes to leave the city, I spot them. A horde of vagrants and bandits. This is my moment. Now is the time to test my team proper. I prep my men and Giorgio leads his people into battle. Now after several minutes of combat, half my dwarves are knocked out and the local garrison's helping us, but we do manage to fight off the obviously super dangerous vagrant incursion. Seriously, we got fucked up by some rag-wearing squatters, but we walked out as champions and survivors. Now, I get me some medical supplies, heal up my lads, and make off to the bar to rest up before our next move. It was actually this time around I decided to make the dwarf nobles have names that they actually deserved. So I ended up giving them titles which were worthy of their presence. I present you with Dendu Greybeard, Gideon Hammerhand, and Varric Shieldbreaker, as well as Giorgio being named to King Giorgio Titankiller. Sounds grander and whatnot, I know. Which is why I also bought him a big-ass sword. Finally, it's time to depart from Squin once again. And the clockwork, as soon as I leave the goddamn gate, I'm attacked by more bandits. This was a serious fight. I mean 360-degree combat. They came from all sides. We fought hard. We fought long. And all of the dwarves got dropped at least once. It was ridiculous. Afterwards, we rest up at the camp that the bandits were using, because I wasn't backtracking into Squin again. And after we had a wee bit of our health back, we began the trip to the hub. Now, it's during this time and this trip that I really took a look at the landscape of Kenshi. And this game has stellar views. When you really look at it, it adds so much. I love the design elements of the game so much. Solid stuff, Lo-Fi. Solid stuff. So we pop into the tavern at the hub, rest up again, and I look around to kind of decide what our next move is. And that's when I find Clayton the Exile. He's a newly added NPC, and it's fun. He's actually pulling the Nigerian prince scam, you know? He has a bunch of money. He needs taxes taken care of. Things are tied up in legal situations, all that fun stuff. Now, obviously, I didn't touch it. I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole, but it's funny stuff anyway. It's good detail. So, bravo to you, Genesis. Anyway, so Giorgio heads out with his entourage and wanders the border zone for a little bit. Now, at this point, I was also scouting out potential base locations. Got to make sure the dwarves are living in a proper location, don't you know? And it was at this point that I found more bandits and wanted to kind of test my own luck. Since our party was now more equipped and stronger, as well as the group that we were fighting had smaller numbers than the last horde we fought, thought maybe we'd stood a chance on this one. You know, we all have stats in the 20s and 30s. Now pay close attention to the name on one of them. String. This is important, because this motherfucker will be a repeat problem. So, spoilers. We fight, we fight, we fight, and we're all gone. Now, remember when I told you that my numbers and gear didn't matter at the beginning of the episode? Well, here's my proof. 11 dwarves with armor and stats in the 20s and 30s just got the shit beat out of them by a bunch of starving bandits multiple times now. So, we get up, heal a bit, and I decide it's either back to the hub, or we head north into Holy Nation territory. And after a bit of thought, I said Holy Nation is probably the best way to go, so we head north. My thought was that I could potentially recruit new dwarves there and grow in our numbers, but that was after we rest, of course. So as we start to head north, who do I see? String and his group again. And I know it's the same group because they still have the damage from the last fight, and they're headed right for us. Luckily, I caught them, and we were able to narrowly avoid them. So much traveling later, and we make it to Stack. I do a quick look around to the city, really nice stuff, set my guys up in the tavern, we get a nice heal. Nothing special. It was at this point I decided I actually wanted to go back and set up shop in the Sten Desert, specifically because when I first joined and I wanted to do the Dwarven playthrough, I had the image of the dwarves from Dragon Age Origins in my head. And, I thought to myself, who better to make enemies with than those spiky Shek? They're almost like the Darkspawn. So, The idea is where I'm going to head back to the Sten Desert, I'm going to build a fortress, and I'm going to rip the Shek Empire a brand new bone-clad anus. So, off in the direction we came we go. And as we head out of that gate, that's when we saw them. String and his bandits. Oh, no, not today, you son of a bitch. Giorgio doesn't even flinch, and he charges into battle against String and his boys yet again. This time, however, it wasn't a battle. It was a massacre. When the smoke cleared, Giorgio and his dwarven legions stand proudly amongst the corpses of the fallen. This is only the beginning of their tale, my guys. For this is Kenshi, and it's time for a new empire to rise.